together. So I suppose I mainly came because I'm curious about how that would work out. Partly FOMO, fear of missing out. So I feel that the group could splinter into two groups, the ones who meditate or do mindfulness and the ones who don't. And that's been my concern really about, this additional group. So whilst I applaud the fact that, you, Paul, are offering it and that, lots of us are up for doing it. I suppose I was mindful of, how if a group goes in two different ways, do you end up separate in the end, or do you end up joining up, on the other side? So I'm interested to know, how many sessions or how long, and also a feeling that I might lose impetus in reading. I mean, I need a bit of encouragement. I'll very readily turn to my novel, not very readily turn to something which actually use my cerebral powers, even in a small way. So yeah, I want to keep myself on track, and I don't want to miss out. I want to be part of the group. So that's where I am, and I'm going to pass to Becky.
Thank you, Mary. I am here as an inquisitive as well, as someone who has a meditation practice that is my bedrock for my life, and so I'm naturally drawn to this sort of offer. But I've never, like Mary, combined mindfulness with mindfulness of race, and so I'm very curious about that. And I'm also, sorry, I need to turn my phone off. I am, since studying our first book, I've become conscious of having some thoughts that I have a lot of shame around, and it's really affected me this last 5 months, and I'm not ready to share them yet. I want to do it slowly, and I want to feel like I'm safe first, but I'm wondering if this might be the place to explore some of that. I mean, it's really deep shame, and it's thoughts that come up regularly enough to disturb me. And I feel like our first lot of work together started me off on a journey that I have absolutely no choice in taking. I'm committed to it, and there's just no going back at all. And I feel like this could be really good to explore the next part of the work for me, which is really digging in a bit deeper into the areas of rot that I found the first time round. Thank you. I pass on to Jane.
Thank you, Becky. Well, similarly to Mary, I'm here because I was really curious about how this is going to work alongside the book, and curious about whether it's an integral part of the book, because I haven't got to the bit where there are meditations. So I think because she's a Buddhist, Ruth King's a Buddhist. I'm not sure if I got this right, but I think I was under the impression that there are meditations in the book to go alongside. So I don't know if I've got the wrong end of the stick, or if the idea was that this was going to be practicing those, or if this is an addition to those, or if actually there aren't any in the book at all, because I haven't got to that point yet. So a bit of confusion in me about how this is fitting into the book and running alongside it, which I would be grateful to hear more about. And yes, I have my own meditation practice. So I'm curious about how mindfulness and race are going to come together in this space, if that's what this space is going to be. So yeah, I think that's probably all I need to say at the moment, but I appreciate having the opportunity to be here and that you've set this up, Paul. So I'll pass to Maddie.
Jane? So I mean, I didn't think about it that deeply, to be honest. I think it's the practice and the people. I wasn't at the last call that you all had, so I think there's probably a way of me like connecting in, like, what we're doing again, what did you agree, what is this thing, so just to get that, and you sort of found myself, because actually the dinner that was going to be ready is only just ready, and I had this tussle, like, oh, do I have dinner, or do I got, and I heard myself saying to Jez, no, it's like the first thing, I need to know what's happening. It's that kind of sense of what is it, and yeah, connecting in with you, I think.
Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting. I confess I've got this gung-ho nature. Yeah, and what might seem blindly obvious to me, it often isn't to anybody else. So as soon as we kind of got the book, I thought, oh, this is brilliant. This is all about mindfulness. And and again, the other fault I've got is I kind of tend to do that white male thing of, oh, I could do this, without really asking anybody else if they want to do it, or being, so it happened. And I was a bit like, oh, last week, this has been, not really consultational. I just said, I will do this, instead of saying, would we like to do this? So I felt a little bit embarrassed. I guess some people hadn't seen it. Other people were a bit mystified by why we would want to do that. So if I explain, I kind of saw the Ruth King book being about if working with these hidden drivers, habits, conditioned behaviors, is what we are doing. We're releasing these things, from the dark shadows of our consciousness. It seemed like a no-brainer to me that the book was about mindfulness being the core part of responding rather than reacting to them. So I kind of, although mindfulness is part 2, I kind of think it's only there to be somewhere in the book, but to me, this is it seems to be a mindfulness program to help us manage our as I say, our reactivity, and particularly the traumatic stuff that's coming up. And that's an assumption I've made, and that's just my perception of it. But I don't see it as a bolt-on about something else. So I thought, well, if we had a group going, then we can have the mindfulness stuff running concurrent. I'd be really interested, and this might be a way to kind of find out how her courses are run. So if she's done these mindful of race courses, and my guess is that the mindfulness part will be there on day 1, but I don't know. So I'm making assumptions here. And I am now really a bit nervous from what like Mary said. I don't want it to be a schism between a group doing the mindfulness stuff and then they join us at part 2. I'm quite nervous about that. So I thought maybe I'd be interested to know how you want to progress this evening. But if I could say what was in my mind when I was being gung-ho, I thought this would be a good forum at the very basic level for some voices from the group to lead the meditations in the book, and then we can make them available to other people. So at the very least, there's a resource ready when we get to section 2. And I had a look, if I could share with you, I had a look at what the meditations actually are. So first of all, and this is something we might do tonight as a trial, there's a grounded sitting practice, a body scan. And the idea about that is that you're settling your body so that you're able to calm your body down in order to be ready for the reactivity that comes. There's something like Becky was talking about. So I don't know what your practice is, Becky, but whether you use it in this way. But then there's a kindness practice, and that's kindness for self, kindness for a challenging person, kindness for all beings. So we're cultivating a mind of kindness as part of our resilience, I guess, in terms of the challenges we're going to get when we trigger these reactions. And then I get to where I think it is the heart of the practice that she's recommending. And some of you may be aware of this. It's really well known, the RAIN practice, where you recognize your reactivity, you learn to accept it, you investigate where it's coming from, and then you nurture yourself to be able to be with it. Yeah, so that seems to be a core part of our self-management of our reactivity due to these unconditional biases. And then it moves on to compassion. So we're then developing mindfulness qualities to help be with others in the challenges ahead. And then it finishes with an equanimity practice of being okay in the midst of whatever's coming up. So I would imagine these trigger points are going to be going off all through the first parts of the book. And then we have a choice. Do we kind of work with them as they're happening, or do we revisit them with the practices of meditation when we get to section 2? And then section 3 works on the compassion stuff. So there are more meditations coming later in the book. So that's my understanding of it. I don't know if anyone's, any kind of response to that or other thoughts.
And can you just, I guess, catch me up on what you discussed in the call before? Was it a saying like, oh, there's meditations coming up in the next chapter, and how are we going to do them? Or what was it just that you know that?
Where at, Maddie? I put an idea out after when we decided, when there was this consensus we're going to do mindfulness of race, and the day after I put a message out saying, look, I'm happy to kind of host the first of a meditation session. Right. And I kind of forgot about, that maybe other people hadn't even seen that or were responding. So when they came to the last session, there's a kind of, well, we're not sure whether we need to be coming along to meditation now. Isn't that the second? I think there was a kind of split. Some people thought, well, that's, it'd be interesting to do. And you've kind of voiced, I'm just curious actually tonight. It'd be interesting to do some of the mindfulness, but I think there might be a more of a consensus that, well, that's the second part of the book, and we'll deal with that when we come to it. That's what I took away from it, and I can see the logic in that. If it's a reading book, it's like some of us are rushing ahead now to see what's at the end of the book. And that's kind of makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, meditation is a lifetime's practice, isn't it? Really.
Yeah,
so
that's
now doing it, and for me, that's like, well, it's more meditation. Not a bad thing.
Yeah, well, so to me, I don't see it as a phase in this. That I see it as the thing that underpins it. And I kind of say, well, that's just my view, but it is. But it kind of can't see how it could be any other somehow. But I don't know.
One of the things that I'm struggling with is that because I couldn't get a copy of it on paper, I'm reading the Kindle version of it. It's the first Kindle I've ever done, and I'm not very proficient at the tech, and I can't be bothered noodling with it because I don't ever have time to do extra stuff like work out how a bloody Kindle thing works. And so I haven't looked ahead to see what the structure of the book is. So I feel like I'm a little bit in the dark here, and I would prefer to have a paper copy, but I don't have one. So I just got to work with what I've got.
Yeah, I'm happy to help you there, Becky. If you wanted, I've got a Kindle, and if you want a conversation, sometime next week, it's just with the Kindle, because it basically is to guide you back to the index at the front, and then you can see it'll say sitting practice, kindness practice, and you just click on that, it'll take you to it. So it's not that difficult once you kind of find your way around it. So if you wanted any help with that, I could offer that to you, because I prefer paper book for this kind of thing, but obviously I gave my book away to Jenny last week, so I've had to work it out before I did that.
Yes, I see. So then if the consensus for the group is that we wait and do it all together as a group in part 2, then I'm very happy to wait for that. But if you want to make a core team of people who help lead those meditations, I would also be delighted to help with that, because I love doing stuff like that.
Good, yeah.
So that it didn't feel like it was all sitting on your shoulders.
I think having a different voice for each meditation from the group would be a really rich thing to have, actually. It kind of connects us, and there are probably 5 core meditations that we could record. I mean, my thought for tonight would be we do one, which is and I'm happy to guide that unless anybody else wants to. I'm ready to do that. Just basically directed from the book, and then we could send this recording out to everybody. So I also do it on a audio. So I'll record it on an audio. So there's an audio version just so people can click on that from Dropbox or whatever. And then maybe they could have a look at this, just see if there's any comment on this discussion, because I've recorded this, and providing everyone's happy, we could send them this. Listen, what do other people think? I'm jumping in again. You see, I'm doing the old thing. What do you think about what Becky's saying?
So, Becky, were you saying that maybe the whole group would do the meditation from part 2, and it would be once a month, like we have been meeting, or on a more regular basis, or is that what you're saying? In part 2, where maybe everybody will join.
Yeah, I wasn't very clear in my thinking, so that's why you're not very clear about what I said, because I don't really know. I was saying, well, I was kind of assuming that we would put this on hold until we got to part 2, but we could equally have it running concurrently if there's an appetite for it. But I guess there needs to be a consensus, a group consensus. And if some people really, really don't want to do that, then that creates a problem for them, because the rest of us have already done it together. And that doesn't feel very groupy.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because the first part of the book is evoking self-reflection and debate and discussion. And that's very different to sitting in a group and doing meditation together. So I'm imagining that she's structured the book in such a way that as we read it and connect to whatever it is that's evoked in us through the discussions and the questions that we're attending to, we'll have more of a sense of what we might be responding to in the meditation when we get to it. I mean, she's structured the book in a particular way, and I'm imagining that there was a reason for that. And if we start meditating, doing the meditations now from the second half of the book before we get there, are we running to the finishing line without actually being mindful of getting there along the way? You see what I mean?
I really think that's really wise, actually, that I hadn't thought about it personally that way. I wonder if, sort of listening to what Becky thinks she's saying, during the time between now and the 10th of Feb, or actually it's going to be later than that, because we're not going to be at the second part of the book anyway for quite some time.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's an opportunity to build a resource ready for when we do go with the meditations, which would be because you can't get the guided meditations, so they need recording. We could record our own, but we could if anyone wished, I think this is what you were saying, Becky, we could already have that ready to go when we're in the meditations phase. So when we're in the meditation phase, I guess we would meet more in a meditative space, a bit like we're doing now, but as a whole group. And then we'd already have, and when you go home to practice between our meetings, we've got the actual recorded material there that we've produced ourselves.
And you wouldn't need to do that in advance. You could just do it live, and then people can just
Yeah, you could, couldn't you? Gosh, you could.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, gosh.
the great
Create work.
Yeah.
I feel in some ways very blessed that well, you, Paul, but also others who have a practice of mindfulness or meditation are both skilled and confident enough to be able to do exactly that. We could to be able to hold the group through those things when we get to it, to be happy to kind of read a meditation while everybody meditates and have that recorded, so I feel like there's enough confidence and expertise in this group to be able to do it like that. So we probably don't need to be like thinking, how are we going to do that bit when we get to the book to make sure it's okay for everybody, and so we probably don't need to have a facilitation team in advance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Makes
absolutely.
Me.
So what I'm hearing then is we actually think we should wait, and we'll just provide meditation guides in the structure of the group as it stands when we get to that point in the book.
Yeah.
Could be a short meeting, this, wouldn't it?
Well, I was going to say, and that said, we're all here now, so I mean, it's quite nice to do a little practice like you did at the beginning. And
why don't we do a trial then and do the grounding practice, and we can at least see how that feels, and then whether we share it or not, it's probably not the point. I mean, I think the thing to do is share this recording so people can see how our kind of discussion's gone if they want to follow it. But if we send this out after this session this evening, we would be saying, we've had a discussion. If you want to hear the content of it, it's available. And what we felt would be the wisest thing to do is to wait till we get to section 2, at which point we have the confidence that a number of people in the group can guide meditations when we're in that context. Is that right? Is everyone?
Yeah.
Like a good summary.
Pardon, gooseberry.
Gooseberry, good story.
Oh, it's just a gooseberry.
A good summary, I said. Not a good
gooseberry. I thought, what's this? Yes, I'll send this gooseberry out. And does anybody else want to do that? I'm kind of, I'm happy.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? So the meditation would take place in the ordinary general meetings, which we'll all be at. We won't have a splinter group.
Yeah, because I've read the second section, obviously, because so it kind of works with, there's a narrative about the meditation, and then there's the meditation, so it would suit fine, for that. Although, it's going to take, we're going to be with this book for a long time, and that's okay. I mean, that's Sarang's here. She might be trying to summarize to her. Where's she gone? Yeah.
We'll wait for her to come in and say, what time do you call this then?
No, absolutely. Yeah, she's only got till 8 o'clock as well.
Dinner's in the dog.
Yeah, she's having difficulty joining, actually, so I don't know what's dinner's in the dog. Yeah, and the gooseberries on the one.
Tarang, we can't see you or hear you.
We know you're there. Oh, there you are.
Woohoo!
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I had some trouble getting in.
All right, welcome, Sarang.
Yeah.
Did anybody want to summarise for Sarang? Because we've just got to a conclusion, which we'd like to share with you. Anybody want to have a go at it?
We're not doing it now.
No.
We're waiting till the second half of the book.
Yeah,
so my understanding, because I wasn't at the meeting,
Yeah.
so maybe this is good for me to say. So my understanding is that obviously this book includes mindfulness practices in it. You know, so it's got whatever, is it section 1, and then section 2 starts to have mindfulness practice. And Paul has very kindly looked through those practices, and he's kind of come to the conclusion actually would be nice to, you know, when we get to it, to do them together. So we had this debate about, do we as a small group, is it useful to do them now so that we know what's coming and we can kind of help and support people through it, a bit like a facilitation team, or should we just wait and do it and trust that we've got the right expertise in the group, and that when we come to it, we just all do those practices together, you know, as a group? And I think we've landed on the second. So we sort of feel like there's sort of no need to set up extra meetings now, but we wait. Well, we just all work through the book together as a group, and that when we get to the mindfulness practices, we have this wonderful, all of us, resource and experience and confidence and expertise to say, yeah, okay, well, we can hold us through this practice, and maybe even record them at the same time, and then people have them as a resource like forever because they have the recordings, but we all do it live together. Did that make sense?
Brilliant, Maddie.
I think the thing, Maddie, we're just a bit concerned that people might, we might end up with 2 tracks, and it might be disruptive to group cohesion. And I kind of didn't even think about that, but when I do, I think, yeah, it leaves us going at different speeds with the book. And I think if I was a non-meditator who didn't want to get involved now, I'd feel a bit miffed about it, actually. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure I agree. Because meditation practice is something, you know, we all have our own nourishing, supportive things, be it running or dancing or walking. I just see it as one extra practice, and it's easier done in a group with whoever. And it's not, I don't feel it's taking anything away from those who don't want to do it just yet. It's just good for this book or not this book. It's just good for life.
Yeah, I think we can agree with that. I think it's because of the nature of the book. I agree with you, and I don't think there would be anything preventing us creating a meditation group, but not specifically around the book. You know.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
I mean, that's my thoughts. I'd be happy to be part of that group, but not, you know, the group that's done the work before the others arrive at it. And we've talked about that before, mindfulness of race anyway, so that, you know, it'd be kind of separate from Black Lives Matter, really. It'd be a group who meditate together. Maybe the meditations will have aspects of racism in them, but I do kind of feel, I'm concerned if it's specifically we're doing section 2 before you. However, the intention, I think we agree, meditation is a lifetime practice, but it just, is risky, I think, in terms of some people's perceptions of what that means.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you want to,
we were just getting to the last, you know, whatever, if we were going to be here till 8 o'clock, and like, well, we could do some meditation. Great. You know, like, okay, well, what should we do? So we were just wondering, oh, well, should we just try one from the book anyway? Or, you know, I think we were just kind of, as you arrived, it feels like we were just kind of getting to that space of like, okay, well, how can
Jane made a really good point that it seems like this book was structured very consciously by the author, and that in the same way that musicians put together this is my take on it, when they make an album, they put the songs in a particular order so that you have a particular experience of their music. And the same for this is that if we started to work on section 2 at the same time we were working on section 1, that's not the experience that was designed for us. And I kind of like Jane's point, and I think that's what helped me really see it clearly. But I don't start on this book's one. But have you got an idea of the kinds of meditations that we could do that are separate from the book work?
Well, Lama Rod does different kind of things, but or Tara Brach.
Yeah,
but all they're all just practices for the ones that I like are always taking where you're at and then looking at it in more depth and seeing how it feels in the body and how it expresses.
But how would we, sorry to interrupt, but how would we, for example, the Tara Brach stuff, I've done a couple of hers and I've absolutely loved it, but it's her leading the meditation. So how would we do it on Zoom together?
We could just play a recording and do it together. But the other thing that I was looking forward to is, which is the good thing about in a group, is inquiry meditation. So having a question, and maybe that's a good thing in breakout rooms. Do you know what I mean, Paul? Where we have one questions that we do in maybe in pairs, and then you go deeper and deeper, and you have the same question you ask again.
Yeah, it's just like the Zen inquiry. Yeah, you kind of asking the same question and getting deeper and deeper responses. Is that what you mean, that one?
Yeah,
I know that very well. Yeah.
And then that could be around anti-racism or the things that come up within us. That's the kind of stuff I can't do on my own.
You get I still wonder whether we can talk. The people who are interested in a general meditation group, then that's separate from the group making progress through this book, and it doesn't have to be any conflict between those, because so everybody's kind of going the same pace with the book. I think that's quite important, actually. But if people are looking for a sangha, which have common interests, including the anti-racism, that's something that could be set up anyway. But it's not under this Black Lives Matter umbrella that we've created with this lovely group that we have. It's something, it runs a different track, really. One suggestion I've got is, because we've recorded this sarang. I do actually think, and I know you've got to go at 8, haven't you? So we may not have time to do this, but it would be nice to just guide the meditation so that when other people watch this, they can kind of, what are they talking about? Well, this is how it will be when we get to section 2. This is a guided meditation by one of the group. Does that make sense? So maybe we could go there now. Probably need to, don't we?
Yeah.
You're looking pensive there.
Not pensive. I didn't quite understand. Sorry.
I'm looking at Jane. No. I'm suggesting we do some meditation now, and then people can kind of, well, that's what they're talking about from the book. So it's just a sample of what will be coming when we get to that stage in the book. We're doing it rather than talking about it.
Yeah.
If a guide for about 15 minutes, then that'll just bring us about to time. Is that all right with everyone?
That would be lovely.
Yeah, everyone have a okay? Yes. Okay, let's go then.
Just set I'm not sure that the conversation is entirely finised, though, is it?
I know, we'll check in at the end and see where we are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're correct there. You're happy for me to go?
Yeah.
So just spend a few seconds settling back. And grounding yourself, noticing the connection of your feet with the ground, contact with the floor, the earth beneath you. Making sure your posture is relaxed and alert. And settling back on the in-breath and the out-breath. Breathing in and breathing out. So we're going to start with a body scan. Take your time as you move your awareness through the body, inviting awareness to relax each part of the body. Begin by bringing your awareness to the head and face, to the muscles in the face, and to any tightness in the scalp. Simply inviting in a sense of softening. Next, move your awareness through to the neck and into the shoulders. Bring kind awareness down through both arms, upper arms, lower arms, and tops of the hands, all the way down to the fingertips. Bring your kind awareness to the palms of the hands and then the insides of the arms. Invite a sense of softening here, moving your awareness up the arms to the chest, the upper back, the abdomen, and then the lower back. Bring kind attention to all the internal organs and muscles and the space inside the torso. You are just bringing a kind awareness to this area of the body and inviting a softening. Bring kind attention to the hip and pelvis region, the upper legs, the lower legs, tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet, and all the way down to the toes. Next, bring kind awareness to the insides of the legs and to the full length of the legs. Now bring your attention to the full body, softening through kind awareness. Stillness of the body, Sitting quietly, notice the experience of settling. Allow the mind to rest in the fullness of the body. Imagine the entire body as the mind. Feel the quietness inside the body. Rest your awareness here for the next few breaths. Begin to notice the stillness inside the body. It has its own experience. Open your awareness to noticing the experience of stillness. Settle the body until you begin to feel a shift in inner stillness and ease. Take your time to relax in the stillness of the body, firmly planted in your seat, and rest in the stillness. Notice the body steadying itself. Feeling directly the body's movement, its graduation, and its gradation towards stillness. The stillness may not be dramatic, but you may notice a softening inside the body that you can rest in. Begin to feel the steadiness and stability that this stillness makes possible. Notice the quietness of stillness. There may be chatter in the mind, but it may be more faded and in the background of your experience, while the stillness is in the forefront. Give your full attention to the body resting in stillness, in calm abiding. Let this experience of calm be fully known from inside the body. You may feel like a solid mountain or tree, or like you have slid your full body inside a warm glove. Allow yourself to be whatever the experience is for you. And natural awareness is made available to you simply through stillness, through calm abiding in the body. Movement of the breath. Next, begin to open your awareness to the movement of the breath. Not to the thought of breath, but to the movement, the sensations of breath. That point of contact where the breath touches and moves the body. There is an experience of breathing that you can know directly. The breath is the body's most intimate and constant companion. Notice where the inhale stretches or expands the body, and where the exhale collapses the body. Experience the sensations of movement of the breath inside the body. Taking your time, allow yourself to know the stillness of the body and the movement of the breath. Place your awareness on the exhale, riding the sensation of the exhale. Feel the settling and ease that is the nature of letting go. Next, begin to experience the fullness of the inhale, then the exhale, and then the pauses at both ends. There is no need to manipulate the breath, just notice what it's like to breathe, the experience of breathing. For example, where do you experience the rise and fall of the breath in the body? In the abdomen, chest, tip of the nostrils? Give your full attention to this thing we call breathing. What is the quality of the breath? Is it fast like a soft breeze, or is it choppy wind? Is it faint? Are you holding the breath? Is it warm or cool? Is the inhale different from the exhale? Is it short or long? Be curious about how the breath is moving through the stillness of the body. Notice that the body is still while the breath is moving. Both experiences are happening together. You are still while still moving. Thoughts, emotions, and other sensations will arise in the body and mind as you practice. There's no particular reason for it, nor is it a problem. Keeping the body as relaxed as possible, rest in the full experience of the stillness in the body and the movement of the breath. Let both the body and the breath be known. Let them be your primary focus. Now give your attention to any experience of calm in the body and mind. Slowly scanning the body, notice where you experience calm. Take the next few moments to notice how your body is experiencing calm and ease, however small. Know this experience as equanimity. Bring full awareness to the inner experience of calm. Allow the experience of calm to permeate and bathe each cell in your body, all the internal organs. Permeate all the space within the body. So take as much time as you need to rest in the stillness of the body and the movement of the breath. Shall we just have a quick round, see where we are?
Thank you so much, Paul. I
Right.
really needed that. That was beautiful. And I have to go.
Okay, thanks, Sarang.
And I'm really happy for us to just pick this up when we get to it all together. And in the meantime, keep me posted if you're starting a Sangha.
Just let's talk about it and see, see if it was interested, so we could follow that up. And yeah. Okay, cool.
Bye.
Bye, Sarang.
Bye. Bye.
Now I feel calm, satisfied, open, don't mind.
I love it. Bottle that then, Maddie. That sounds like we should all need some of that. Okay.
Yes, appreciate the stillness. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, it was nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Good. So thank you for everyone. So I'll just post the recording and try and summarize what I think we're going to do. And then if you think I've missed anything, just kind of comment on it. Is that okay? and just see what everyone else thinks. And then we meet on the 10th, don't we, next?
Yeah.
Is everyone happy with that?
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Great.
it's just, I mean, just to finish though, like the bit that I thought was not clear for me, or maybe it was for other people, it just felt like Sarang had just nudged open the door to say like, well, there is stuff that we could do as a group.
Yeah. And you're not clear on that?
So if we still wanted to do something, and it
Yeah.
was more of like a reflective inquiry meditation practice or whatever you called it.
Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing. My own thing is, if anything happens meditation wise, it's actually not part of the group. I think that's probably, I suggest that's a good thing until we get to part 2. And I think the idea of incorporating inquiry would be a discussion maybe when we get to part 2, whether we want to go beyond the guided meditations in part 2. That's
okay. So it could be then a possibility for afterwards. And I just think, I like this group, for example, and I like the idea that we're, as the big group, there are like more bonding for, it's not like a splinter group, but there, we're making deeper connections with each other in whatever way. And I like that.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, that was one of our big things, like how do we continue to feel safe, build more trust, go deeper, what are the ways that we can do that? We might find that we're doing that in different ways. But yeah, so I'm still hold that possibility that we can do something more at the right time.
I think that sums where I am actually. Just keep the possibility open. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'd be interested in response to this from anyone else who's got the patience to sit through it all. But I think it's a really good discussion. I think it's really healthy, and I think I personally think we got to a really good place as a result of that. So it was time worth spending, and should set us up for wherever we go from here, really.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Thank you. It was good. I'm really clear about how we're going to do the foreseeable future anyway.
Yeah. And thanks, Mary, because you kicked it off really with your doubts at the beginning, which I think was good to voice that. And I think we've all kind of aligned around that, haven't we, and said, yes, we don't want to jeopardize the connection and integrity of the whole group. And I think that's really wise.
All right. Thank you, chat.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Love to see you all. Yeah, take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.